you have to instantaneously, you have to decelerate, which means you have to slow down, and before you accelerate again, there has to be that transition. You have to come to a stop. Physics says you have to slow down, come to a stop, and then accelerate again. So all agility is the ability to decelerate, stabilize and control yourself when you come to a stop, and then propel yourself again. So this idea that you have to go, do all these cone drills and all this other bullshit. I just get so heated about it. It's just a way to sell people. Yeah. Anytime I see the ladder come out, I know that someone's getting taken. Their money's getting taken. So
it's so true. I have two tennis athletes that I train. They're both in their 50s. Phenomenal shape for being 53 years old, by the way. But anyway, they came in, and the first thing they said is that my shoulders feel wonky. Both shoulders, not even their serving hand, but both shoulders. And a big thing, going back to what you said about posture, is they weren't able to hold a proper organized position just standing. And so when they're on the court, they're defaulting into these weird, fully rounded positions with their spine. When they're moving laterally, they're moving with really weird, kind of funky positions, like they're not able to control their eccentric position whenever they're stopping. They're just kind of like falling forward. So a lot of
slap and crash.
Yeah, exactly. So a lot of big things were lacking. Glute development was like next to nothing.
Right.
A lot of posterior shoulder development is nothing. Rhomboid back, all that's gone. All that posterior development is non-existent. So how can you expect someone to continue doing their sport for days and days, months and months, and years if you're just overdeveloped in one direction, but you have nothing in the other direction? It's going to fall apart. It's absolutely true.
100%. And so, I think my biggest pride in this season was just checking in with my players and making sure how they felt. Every single game, I would do work on different players. They would come to me. We would do mobilizations. We would do compression wrapping, voodoo stuff. It's Kelly Surratt calls it like the voodoo wrapping, but really it's just a compression technique. And we would do just all these different modalities, and they would go through their warm-up. And as they were going through their warm-up, I would go up to every single player and say, how are you today? How you feeling? Anything going on? And if there was any hesitation, I could pin them on it. How you feel today? Like, what's going on? I'm feeling all right. No, what's going on? Don't bullshit me. What's going on? They're like, well, my hip flexor feels a little here. I'm like, all right, do this, this, and this. And then they would get off and they would give me this look like I just either waved my magic wand or I just cursed them with my voodoo pin. But it was my favorite look that they would give me because it was just like, what the hell did you just do? But we would get them. I would get their bodies all together, and for a while the joke was they called me Magic. And then when I started really getting them addicted to these compression wraps, they called me Voodoo. So I thought that was really cool. But
that's a really good feeling.
It is, and it's more that I wanted to make sure that I at the end of the season, before the end of the season, at any given time, you could walk in and you could ask me about a player, and I could tell you every single minor thing or dysfunction that we needed to work on with that person. I knew these guys, and I knew their bodies, and I knew where their faults were, and I was able to work on those things and to make sure that they were all in check. And it was just an absolute joy for me. So
that's awesome. I agree.
So I hope that definitely should come through, and a lot of the guys have continued on to work with me after the season. So
yeah, I wouldn't doubt it. That's something you can't put a price on your well-being, right?
Right.
And then it's helping them perform better. So that's like everything they need.
Well, and these are up and coming guys too. This is we were a premier development team. So that's, in baseball sense, that's like a single A.
Yeah.
And now we moved up to USL Pro, which is basically like a AAA, double A, triple A, and then MLS would be like the major leagues.
Yeah.
So these guys are on the rise.
Start from the bottom, then.
Yeah. And if you're going to get to the top, you better keep rising.
Yep.
You can't rise if you're hurt.
Yep.
So I think that's the empowering thing. It's not like a binary yes no.
Yeah.
You know, like, do I have what it takes because my body's going to give out, or do I just have a freakish amount of ability to take the damage? And that's unfortunately the way we've decided athletes in this country is, can you take the damage? If not, you'll be weeded out along the way, and someone else will come along, and they'll take the damage and make it as far as they can until their body gives out.
Yeah.
Regardless, everybody gives out,
Yeah.
unless you just totally shift your paradigm. We have a bunch of those guys. One of them being Chuy Cortez, who was our offensive player of the year, and then he won the fans' choice for MVP from our hardcore soccer hooligans are called Everly's Army, and the guys who sort of organized this group of hooligans, they own a brewery. And so the winner of the MVP Everly's Army Cup gets a beer named after him.
That's awesome.
So I think that's awesome. And
That's cool.
I'm petitioning for Chuy Bacchus Brew.
Very clever.
Chuy's really embraced, just all of the concepts, just not even just about training, but the whole entire investment in being an athlete as a lifestyle. He eats all the grass-fed meat, and he eats tons of butter. And so he came to me and he says, I'm really excited to go back and see my family because I really want to help them eat better. And I was just so inspired by that. I was like, this is so amazing that, here's someone who's felt such a difference in the work we've done and following the advice that I've given him, that, he really he looks past soccer and looks toward his brothers and sisters and his younger siblings and looks to his parents and is like, I feel amazing and I want to be better. I want this for you.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, well, it's like, I have to find a way to get them off the tortillas. I was like, well, we can try and like wean them off. He's like, but you don't understand. He's like, they have tortillas at every meal. And I'm like, every meal? Like, really? And so I was like, I had no idea. So, so I said, I was like, well, don't worry, I'll get my girlfriend on the case, and because she's huge into non-gluten, non-dairy cooking, and using sort of, I guess, like paleo friendly, but I think the word paleo is kind of cultish. It's just clean, no inflammation, friendly, right? No wheat sort of baking products. And so we invented for him something called the Torchui. And it came out more like a tostada, is what he told me later on, which, I mean, hell, I'm a white person. So the tostada, I guess, is more of like a flatbread that you can like pile stuff on top of.
Yeah.
And the tortilla is more like what wraps around. But the torchui is like a low inflammation, no gluten, like sort of paleo friendly tostada that we call the torchui. You can check it out on her blog at thebikiniexperiment.com. So it was the bikini experiment. I think that's her Instagram too. She puts up some good cooking stuff on Instagram too at the Bikini Experiment. So if you go to her site and just search Torchui or Chuy Cortez, you'll see the recipe for this awesome tostada. But it went all over his Facebook, and everybody was loving it because they're like, every Mexican's dream to have a tortilla named after you. But he works like I want to say no one else, but I'll say he reminds me of me. He reminds me of me when I was dancing. He works like I did. So I really appreciate him and his work, and I'm pulling for him, and it's a big switch from who I used to be, because I used to be an athlete first, and my coaching was something I loved, but I would rather add value to myself than others, and now it's just so different. I'm so passionate about coaching and about making him better that I come at a much further second. So which is also another tricky thing to learn. It's like, now that you've made this switch from athlete to coach, how do you still be an athlete yourself and still be well and healthy and be the epitome of everything you're trying to coach, and not just let that slide. So
the vision, the ultimate vision, I think, for a lot of coaches is what you just explained. It's like being able to give something to a client, an athlete, whoever it is, being able to give that feeling of, man, I feel good. I feel good at what I'm doing right now. And for them to spread that, people they love, I mean, that's infectious. And it's infectious in an amazing way. It's like you do what you love to do and you share that with someone, and they share that with someone else because they know how good that feels. That's what it's about, right?
And I think when they share it with someone that they care about is even more.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I think you can relate. I think the most difficult thing is to get your parents to accept that something that is good for their health. And you love your parents, you love your family, and they just don't want to hear it. And so I can relate that. Chewy is like, I really want my family to eat better. It's like, but we got to find a way to do something about these tortillas.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I just loved his the way that he embraced how, when you learn how well something helps you and how it really improves your life, it's amazing how you immediately want to do the same for those you love.
Yeah.
And so I just really appreciated it. So thank you to Lauren for getting on the inventing a non-wheat based tortilla tostada, that we call the torchili. So
yeah, it's like, I totally feel you on the whole parent thing. I mean, my parents, the whole tortilla thing with the Mexican culture, it's like, for the Indian culture, it's rice. Rice is served with every meal. Rice, or what we call rotis, which are just like these, almost like tortillas.
So naan?
It's like, no, rotis they're a different variation. Naan is one variation of a roti.
Okay, so naan or roti.
Yeah. So, and they're very much all wheat based. And they pair really well with meats, vegetables. You just kind of like make a little, almost like a cup with your roti, and you scoop the vegetable or whatever you're eating, and you just put it. It tastes freaking amazing, right? So for them, it's like a must-have. And if they don't have it, it's like, well, this meal's not shit. Why should we even try eating this? This is garbage. So I totally feel you when it comes to the whole tortilla thing. It's like that, pervasive, not only in Indian culture, but same with the Chinese culture, Taiwanese culture. It's pervades a lot of different cultures. It's like that staple food they must have. And like, I love my mom, I love my dad, I love my girlfriend even, I love all of them to death. But whenever I mention anything that is moving in a direction where they're going to feel better, like, oh man, I feel tired all the time, I'm like, do you think you want to maybe like switch from eating the roti all the time and maybe eating more fibrous vegetables and eating, maybe just sticking to the veggies and the meat for a while and maybe incorporating other sorts of carbohydrates? No. Just straight up no. Like, maybe we'll try it someday, but right now, So it's kind of a struggle, because like, I know, and I know you can relate to this. I know that, and I know, and what it's like to feel a certain way, to feel good, and of course you want to impart that to people you love,
especially after feeling so bad.
Exactly. It's like, I don't want you to feel pain. You don't have to feel pain.
Oh, that's my mission, is to remove pain.
Exactly.
Because it's just my personal, just overwhelming feelings about pain. But
absolutely.
we got to wrap it up for today. But let's something I'd actually really love to touch on in the next episode or so is just your thoughts on maybe